This is my first build. It's a ZMR frame. I've got DYS 1806 2300 kV motors, DYS 10 amp ESCs, PDB board. Got it wired up. Use some liquid electrical tape on all the power ports that I'm not going to be using. So what I'm doing now is, this is just an overview of what I'm doing. I'm not going to do specific build video because this is my first one. So what I'm doing is just going to do a little at a time, taking my time. The next step, I'm going to place the lights. I've got the wires set for the lights. I've got an extra power with a servo connector for my OSD. So I'm going to go ahead and set up these flexible lights. I like them. They're really bright. These are white. I'm going to use white and red. Got some multicolor I may use, but I'm going to try to get them on the front. And made my own pigtail. And I've connected power. Motors all work. Yes, these are working so far. They did respond. So everything on the PDB board seems to be working properly. And we'll go from here. Alright. Just finished putting the lights on. Do a little test. What I've done, I'll show you. These are tape lights, 3 white LEDs. I put shrink wrap on them and zip tied them on the front. And these are some hard 3 LED red I put on the back with zip ties. Run the wires to the PDB board, put some shrink wrap on them, kind of tidy it up a little bit. And here's what it looks like. And that's the front. You can tell they're very bright. And there's the back. Looking pretty good. It's coming right along. Alright, this is what I've got so far. I've got this PDB board, and it's really zapping a lot of room for an OSD I have, for my receiver. I mean, it's really taking up a lot of room, especially since I'm using the Pilot HD and not the board camera. So I think I want to take this off, take it back apart, and rerun and do my own wiring in between here. And I'm going to put some spacers in between to give me a little more area in between the gap here. That'll be a lot neater and clean, and give me a lot more room on top. So I'm going to start doing that, and we'll see how it turns out. Alright, so I finished taking off the PDB board, and I ran all the wires underneath to the clean area. You can see it right there. And everything works properly. My pigtail at the back. I've got so much more room above my flight controller. Got so much more room for my camera right up front. I'm going to have room now for my OSD to go on. I'm going to have so much more room for my receiver and everything else. So I'm just way more happy with the build like this than what it was initially. So I just have a whole lot more room. Alright, as you can see, I took the PDB board off and made a harness. Got my Pilot HD mounted up on Velcro. Don't know how it's going to work, but I'm going to try it out. CC3Ds on, wired up, tied them up a little bit with some zip ties, nothing major. Got lights front and back. I have my power outlet for my OSD, which I've already tried out works. I actually had to modify the cable for it that came with it, and I did white for camera, yellow for transmitter, so I know which one to plug in to the OSD. Tried it out, works great. So we're going to power this dude up and see how it works. Got my lights front and back. Front lights, back lights. I don't know how that lights are going to affect the camera. I may end up having to move them. I had one snafu. I had the ground was hitting the carbon fiber. Smoked a little bit. Luckily it didn't burn any ESC up. I caught it real quick, unplugged it. Had to take it all back apart, and I actually heat shrinked the signal wires that go to the CC3D from the ESCs. I heat shrink them up, so I'm hoping they still work. It was this right front one here. The motors initialize, make all the sounds, so I'm hoping it didn't fry anything. So that's what I got so far, and we'll keep going. Took the PDB off, wired under the plates. Got my lights wired, camera mounted. Got my OSD video transmitter, the power to the transmitter and the camera system. I got the Fatshark all-in-one system with the teleporter V3s. I like the system because it's plug and play, but the only problem is I didn't really want to cut any of the wiring of the harness, so it was kind of bulky. But so far so good. Everything's working. Getting ready to hook it up to OpenPilot. The only thing I would change is my receiver for my transmitter. It's a little big. I could have took the casing off and heat shrunk it and tried to mount it that way, but I think it'll work here just fine, and I may end up changing that later. But that's what I got so far. I'm going to hook it up to OpenPilot and see what happens. Alright, as you can see, here's what I got. Here's my wire and harness I made. Here's the bottom plate. I have taken everything back apart because one of the ESCs that I purchased, cheap ESCs, from China, evidently didn't work on my first motor. So I have ordered a set of Rotorgeeks. And let me tell you, I made this order and it came within less than a week. He sent me a bunch of stickers and a signed thank you, which I thought was just exceptional service. And these ESCs, these are 10 amp. Let me get one out. I'll show it to you. These are 10 amp ESCs. I had them covered, by the way. Look at the size difference. Look at the size difference in that. It's just amazing. So this is the difference, one of the differences between quality and not good quality. So we'll see how they work. So now I'm going back to the rebuilding phase of my ZMR quad here. And alright, here's where I'm at on my ZMR250 build. I was having some problems, I thought, with the ESCs, so I bought some ESCs from Rotorgeeks, 12 amp ESCs. Really nice, service was awesome. Got them within less a week of ordering them. Sent me stickers and a thank you signed, a hand signed thank you, which I thought was great. So I connected my receiver and connected the board to OpenPilot. Had some issues there. My channel 1 for my ESCs is not working on this board, so I had to do a custom mix for channel 2, 3, 4, and 5, which I've done that. And then I was having problems communicating from the receiver to the board, which I figured out was actually my fault because I wasn't rebooting the board every time I made a change on the program. So I've worked through that. Everything seems to be working. I'm actually going to try to move my OSD and video transmitter up further in the plate if I can. I'm going to try to move all that up further. But now all that's left is buttoning it down and giving her a try out, putting the camera back on, doing some remount the camera and the receiver and a few things like that. But other than that, it should be ready to go. Here's a little test. Here's my receiver. I've powered it up. I've got everything rocking and rolling. So here's a little throttle. Then I'm going to test my pitch. You can hear the motors change, roll, yaw. So everything seems to be functioning. I'll disarm, and you can tell the light on the CC3D is quit blinking fast. So looks good so far. Alright, got my ZMR250 first build. Here we're going to take it for a short test hover and just make sure everything's performing the way it's supposed to. Got to do something with the battery cord. It's a little long, but for now I'm going to leave it just like that, just for the testing purposes.